officers from the Australian Nuclear Science and Technology Organisation. Senator Bushby.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just going to follow-up questions to some questions that Senator Betts has asked previously, and I think most recently Senator Sinodinos was asking some questions about it. And that's to do with the PetNet issues. In the Productivity Commission report from the Australian Government Competitive Neutrality Complaints Office, it made the recommendation on page 16 of that report, and I quote, "For ANSTO to comply with competitive neutrality policy, it would need to adjust PetNet Australia's business model such that it can be expected to achieve a commercial rate of return that reflects its risk profile and full investment in PetNet Australia." What steps has ANSTO taken to comply with that recommendation?
Good morning, Senator. Good morning, Chair. I'm Dr. Adrian Patterson, the Chief Executive of the Australian Nuclear Science and Technology Organisation. In respect of the findings of the Australian Government Competitive Neutrality Complaints Office, we had sought a meeting with them, and the meeting has indeed taken place. And as a result of the modelling that we were able to provide them, they have asked us to make a formal submission of that modelling for the future, which is based on the current assumptions. As you're aware, Senator, the finding of the Australian Government's Competitive Neutrality Complaints Office was not a finding of breach of any of the complaints that had been made, but was really forward-looking based on the modelling that we had supplied. And we had indicated that our review period for that modelling is a year. And so based on the information of the annual review, we held that meeting. So we've made that submission to them. We believe that that submission shows clearly that the development of the business, the change in the operating environment with the introduction of new cameras, which we regard as very positive, and the general uptake of nuclear medicine through the PET modality in New South Wales is all moving in the direction that will lead to the full resolution of this matter. So we're very encouraged by the development in the last year in the marketplace. We're very encouraged by the number of private and publicly funded cameras that have been established. This was slightly ahead of our projections and therefore has given an improved submission in respect of the future modelling. I need to emphasise, of course, that we cannot in any precise way predict the future. And therefore I cannot say unequivocally that in the future we will not come to this committee or any other stakeholder and come up with a model that may be more negative than the current situation. But the general trends that we see, for example, patients per day per camera is increasing. We're still well below in New South Wales the type of throughput that has been secured in American hospitals, for example. So as that throughput increases and more patients have the benefit of diagnoses arising from the use of this technology, we will see, I believe, further uptake of the critical supply of FDG. Senator, I'll also note that the PetNet facility is the only facility in Australia that has a GMP certification and a certified pharmaceutical product. I think it's important to recognise that this is a difference between any other supplier in this marketplace.
Now that may well be relevant to some of my further questions.
This is crucial for I think, any cancer patient who's benefiting from a diagnosis. FDG targets the cancers and attaches to them so that we can image them effectively. And I believe any patient would want to know that the most rigorous standards and the full certification is available to them when they undergo these radiomedicine diagnoses. And that's the standard we've set, and that's the standard that we hope will become generally available to all patients under all circumstances in the use of this critical nuclear medicine diagnosis procedure.
So in summary, in terms of what you're taking, you're saying that you've revised the modelling and you've met with the Productivity Commission and you believe that that modelling together with developments in the market will sort out those issues that the Productivity Commission have highlighted.
Yes, Senator, I think that's a very good summary. In addition, it's important to note that the original modelling that we did was not done for the Competitive Neutrality Complaints Office, but is the standard submission that we make in terms of meeting our audit obligations on an annual basis. So this is very rigorously scrutinised, and we don't make these submissions lightly. And they must be tested, the hypotheses are tested, and they are indeed audited. And we are very pleased that some of the discussions that we had with the Competitive Neutrality Office in relation to their concerns about this matter before they completed their report have been validated by the upgraded modelling. The formal status at this point is that modelling is with them, and we have not yet had a reply from them.
So you're still waiting that.
Thank you.
Now, in your previous testimony, you stated the pricing in the market was within the same price window as presented to the ANSTO board in 2007. And you've also stated that Royal Prince Alfred, which is not registered with the TGA, is pricing their product much more cheaply than yours. Have you been able to win customers from the RPA despite their lower price? I suspect that point you made a minute ago about the additional benefits of your product, it may well be part of that. And if you have you done so, and as I mentioned that, and does ANSTO have any collaborations with those facilities, and if so, in what form?
Thank you very much, Senator. Firstly, I don't have any idea specifically whether we have secured any supply that was previously done by the RPA. We did win the New South Wales tender, and that tender is still in force, and we are making supply to New South Wales publicly funded hospitals under that tender. We do believe that the RPA is the dominant player in the marketplace for supply to the New South Wales public hospitals that are funded by the state. I have a great appreciation for the group at the RPA. I've met with them, and our researchers have worked with them for many years on issues of nuclear medicine. I think that they were an early leader in the establishment of PET as a modality for diagnosis. And I think that they're well known for their commitment to the development of nuclear medicine. So I think that the market-related issues have not in any way diminished our respect for them and our intention to work with them on aspects of research, clinical trials, the expansion of nuclear medicine, because I think we're a small enough community in Australia to find opportunities to collaborate, even if we don't always agree about the detailed dynamics in the market.
Now, I'm conscious I've only got a few more minutes, and I want to ask a couple more questions on this and then move on to the molybdenum, that's how you pronounce it,
yes.
Manufacturing plant. But
I'm glad I'm not the only one. Every time I get to it, I've sort of got to try and practice it.
In the report of the AGC NCO, based on PetNet's own numbers, PetNet was expected to make an internal rate of return of 5.3% at 10 years and 9.2% at 15 years. Are those targets still accurate? And if not, have they changed?
I'll take that on notice, Senator, but basically those rates of return do change every year. Yep. They change because of conditions that are outside of the direct control of people in the market, and they relate to interest rates and long-term government bond rates and so on. It's quite a complicated modelling exercise. And so we'll provide you with the updated rates of return that were anticipated. But as I indicate, Senator, every year this thing is going to move about, and we'll be happy to keep people updated.
In up-to-date figures. And I understand that ANSTO and PetNet are currently in the federal court accused by Cyclopharm of breaches of the Corporations Act. What stage have those legal proceedings reached?
Thank you, Senator. We are indeed in the courts. I believe that the most recent briefing that I had, which was earlier this week, is that Cyclopet has amended its statements of claim, and we have now been given an opportunity to update our response.
So still fairly early stages at this point.
I don't know about the details of how this might play out, Senator. We feel that it's important that we pay careful attention to this court hearing, while at the same time we continue to reject any suggestion that we have in any way breached competitive neutrality or acted in an unfair manner in the marketplace.
I'll leave that at that, and just a couple of quick questions on the molybdenum manufacturing plant. 19 September, the Minister announced a $168 million investment, and the statement then goes on to reference 250 jobs and a $1 billion return to Australia, and if those figures are correct, then it sounds like a fantastic initiative. Are those 250 jobs that have been referred to mostly related to the construction, or are they ongoing?
Thank you very much, Senator. We were very proud on the 19th of September to hear the announcement by Senator Evans in the Senate of the Nuclear Medicine Project, which is a global scale project for Australia. The announcement at the same time was made in the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, in Vienna, and so that co-announcement, I think, shows the global importance and the local importance of the announcement that has been made. Molybdenum-99 is the basis of a diagnostic which is used to diagnose heart disease, cancer, and other conditions. And one of the great challenges we face globally is that over the next few years, the aging research reactors, which provide about 70% of global supply, will be closing down as they reach their end of life. This has led to the potential for a supply crisis globally, where this most used procedure, which has got about 45 million applications a year globally, this is a very, very big impact on global healthcare, that with the termination of the life of these reactors, there would be an inability to confidently and predictably supply MO99 into the global market. It was in this context that we had been working for a number of years, first of all to assure local supply, but more importantly to use the much younger Opal research reactor as the platform to produce these nuclear medicines. And I think, Senator, the key issue is in fact the patient outcomes, but there's another crucial issue for Australia here, and that is that we are the only reactor in the world that uses low-enriched uranium fuel and low-enriched uranium targets on a regular basis to produce these nuclear medicines.
I understand that usually it's a fission reactor that...
So it's crucial to non-proliferation objectives, and in fact the DG of the International Atomic Energy Agency, who we were very proud to receive in Australia, and he visited ANSTO a couple of weeks ago, made this point very clearly to us, that Australia's credibility and standing in the global non-proliferation community has gone up very substantially because we'll be able to apply this technique, which many people were sceptical about, to the global supply of nuclear medicines.
So that's that. As I say, it sounds like a great initiative, and all those points you've made are very good. In terms of its benefits for Australia directly, the specific benefits, are the 250 jobs ongoing?
Correct. Yes, Senator, I was coming to the jobs. There will be 250 jobs during the construction phase. 150 of those are dedicated to the construction, and 100 will be ongoing jobs. Importantly, in the same announcement, the Senator indicated that this is not just a nuclear medicine investment by Australia, but at the same time, we will be building the first commercial-scale Synrock facility to treat the liquid wastes that come out of nuclear medicine production. This is a great step forward for a technology that has been championed in Australia for over 25 years. We have demonstrated in the engineering work that has been done that this application of Synrock has got the best economics, and we're very excited that the liquid wastes, both the legacy wastes which come from the history of production of nuclear medicines and the forward-looking wastes.
So this Synrock is, I think I've been to your facility, this is the waste that you end up, and it's like
it's in a ceramic
rock,
form. Yeah,
it's solid, and okay.
That's right, and basically at the moment, technologically, there are two choices. Choice number one is to take the liquid waste and put it into a cement form. It's called cementation. If we took the 2,000 litres of current legacy wastes and we put it into cement, it would expand the volume to 50,000 litres. That's a big expansion of volume, and as you'll know, Senator, the cost of maintaining that waste over its life cycle is related to the volume.
3,000 years.
Absolutely.
With some aspects of this,
so what does Synrock do with this? What Synrock does is it takes that 2,000 litres and reduces it to 500 litres. So in other words, the Synrock option produces a volume of waste which is 1% of the current best option for the treatment of these wastes. Again, this is based on Australian innovation and is a wonderful opportunity to demonstrate to the world our commitment to really dealing with waste in the most practical, sustainable and effective way.
Now, Synrock's something that was developed some time ago but hasn't really had great commercial use because, as I understand it, it's possibly more expensive than current or existing methods of dealing with that.
Senator Bush,
Just this final question on that. Has the business plan that's been developed for this new proposal taken into account the cost of Synrock as a way of dealing with that, particularly given that it does have a very long-term storage requirement?
Yes, Senator, thank you. It has indeed. In fact, it was crucial from my perspective and the perspective of my board and in discussion with our colleagues in government that we were able to demonstrate both the utility of the chemistry, which is crucial, to lock up that nuclear waste so that it cannot be extracted, it cannot constitute a risk to the public. And at the same time, we believed it was essential to demonstrate that the economics was sound. So just a visual illustration, Senator and Chair, if I may. This is the number of trucks that would transport our nuclear waste if it was in cement. It's a significant number of trucks, 150.
If you can, table that because it's...
yeah, we'll table that, but
exactly.
Senator, in order to save paper, the 3 trucks you see on the back is what we would use with the Synrock. And I think that's...
So the point is there's a huge reduction in the amount of trucks.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a key point well made, Senator.
But Dr. Patterson was concerned the senators wouldn't understand that, so he reduced it to a very small visual aid. Right?
And we got it at
I won't say he used that on the minister, but you know.
Thank you, thank you, Senator Bushby. That was a fascinating discussion, but others have indicated they want to go into other areas. So, Senator Urquhart, you'll have the floor for a few minutes, then Senator Ludlam.
Thanks,
Senator
Chair. Dr. Patterson, I just want to continue on the MO99 for a minute. You talked about 250 jobs and 100 being ongoing, but can you outline what the return to Australia is in terms of investment?
Thank you. That's an important point to make. Firstly, because we will be manufacturing in Australia and shipping to other countries, we will have foreign exchange flows from the sale of the MO99 coming into Australia. Our estimate is over the first 10 years of the operation of this plant, the total revenue flows will be $1 billion. So this is a very significant in nuclear medicine terms. Interestingly, from the point of view of the patient, it represents only 1% of the Medicare rebate in the United States. So even though it's a large amount of money in terms of the revenue flows, it is still the most cost effective and the lowest dose to patients of any diagnostic that is used in nuclear medicine. So it remains the gold standard, if I could use that term, for nuclear medicine globally. And that's why 85% of the patient diagnoses utilise technetium-99m, which comes from the MO99. We don't see that changing anytime soon. In fact, there is an ongoing growth in the market. Many emerging economies are taking up greater use of nuclear medicine in the treatment of cancer and heart disease in their communities. And it's certainly our hope that as much as we work with developed economies, we will be able to also work very effectively in developing countries to mitigate the risk of cancers and heart disease. So this is literally a wonderful opportunity, both for Australia to secure its future supply, for our community and for New Zealand, but also to influence health outcomes in the global setting. So as important as the revenue returns are, the global health outcomes, I think, will be appreciated by many of our partners globally.
So how many Australians will benefit from the facility?
We generate every week currently about 10,000 doses that are delivered to 225 hospitals and clinics across Australia. And that is used diagnostically in these hospitals. We don't get sort of final detail, but just the estimate that we work with is that about 550,000 Australians will receive the benefit of those doses every year. Another way to look at it is how will this help me in my lifetime? We believe that 1 in 2 Australians will benefit from an MO99 technetium 99M diagnostic scan in their lifetime. So it affects us very deeply.
Okay. Can you just outline why it's important to secure Australia's supply?
Yes, I think in the context of these ageing research reactors and the fact that they are going to be turned off over the next number of years, there is great uncertainty in the nuclear medicine community globally as to where that supply will come from. We are members of the high-level group on the supply of medical radioisotopes, which meets twice a year in Paris. And the whole function of that group, that has got all of the countries that are involved in production and supply, is to see if we can find a predictable pathway forward that both meets the patient outcomes and the non-proliferation objectives, because these two go hand in hand. And so from that point of view, having a relatively young, world-class research reactor that has the ability to irradiate these low-enriched uranium targets and produce in an effective way in Australia is providing great certainty to a number of countries. 20 minutes after Senator Evans had made his announcement, I was in a meeting with senior colleagues from the United States at the International Atomic Energy Agency. It would be difficult to transmit to this committee their sense of excitement at this announcement. They believe that this is critical, that the non-proliferation objectives and the nuclear medicine outcomes are of global significance. And this was confirmed by DG Amano when he visited Australia 2 weeks ago. So I think it's really important that we do this in a very targeted, focused way, that we're extremely careful in how we complete the engineering and how we do the work. We need to make sure that we work closely with regulators and the local community stakeholders in the Lucas Heights environment. But we've had very positive feedback. The local community excitement at this announcement and their positive response has been something that has encouraged us as well.
Okay. And will there be any other benefits such as licensing from this new technology?
Yes, I think that what we have found is that as we have become more accessible to the global community, people have approached us, both with respect to our own nuclear medicine capabilities, but also much more recently with the announcement of the Synrock plant. People are looking to license this technology and potentially build plants in their own countries. As I indicated earlier, the excellent volume reduction and the very, very robust chemistry of the Synrock solution is attractive to a number of countries. A number of countries have historically looked at using cementation to store their waste, but with this massive volume reduction, that is really interesting. Beyond the nuclear medicine community, there has historically been a community of people in nuclear waste management who've wanted to see the construction of a Synrock plant, because it's a very simple fact. Those who build plants capture the imagination of the people who need the solutions. And I think it's greatly to the credit of the government that at this time when we're expanding nuclear medicine capability, that at the same time we'll build our first commercial plant for Synrock, because it may well become a benchmark for intractable nuclear wastes around the world that we all are concerned about, and is able to lock them up in a way that reduces proliferation risks to people and so on, because it is a much better, lower volume, sustainable solution.
So just in terms of the volume, this is my last question, Chair. Yeah. The diagram that you held up with the page full of trucks versus the 3 trucks.
Yes.
Where do those trucks go to? Where are you stopping them from Where do
Well-
they go to now, and where will the 3 go to?
Over summarising, Senator, these trucks in a sense are going nowhere. But
Right.
these 3,
Okay. Where are they going?
these 3 will go to the will go to the National Waste Repository and Store.
Right. Okay.
We were very pleased by the development of the legislation that envisages that. And basically, this is 10 years. So, you know, the idea that this is really complex transportation, I think we need to start to address people's concerns about that properly. Because over 10 years, those 3 trucks would represent the waste shipments to the National Waste Repository and Store. So this should not be thought of like a landfill for domestic waste. It's not large numbers of trucks going all over the place. It's a very small number of quite a long period in a very structured and predictable way.
I'm not very good on maths, but I'm not sure that I understand the logic of all those trucks not going anywhere, and now you've got 3 that are going somewhere that
These
you're
would have
actually
been filled
reducing.
with cement, but Synrock's
Yeah.
replaced that and done that.
Okay,
So it's great.
thank you.
Thank you, Senator Urquhart. Senator Ludlam.
I might just stick on the Molly plant while we're there. The reactor's only been up for a couple of years, so I'm not certain why ANSTO's asking for another investment of $168 million in 2012. What's that actually for, and why is that necessary so soon after the new reactor and the Molly plant has been stood up?
Thank you very much, Senator. Firstly, just to clarify, the investments that we are making is in 2 core technologies. The one is the production of MO99 from irradiated target plates. There will be a small incremental investment in the process flows from the reactor, but that's not really where the bulk of this funding is going. The facility that we built when we initially established the capability to produce MO99 using the alkaline process was always envisaged to be an interim step. It was retrofitted into an older facility, and it allowed us to implement a technology that had been developed by our colleagues in Argentina. And therefore, the investment that we made in that initial facility was always expected to be replaced with an upgraded capability that would expand our capacity to both supply Australia and indeed the global community. When I joined ANSTO, that project was called Mega Molly. It was already on the books and had been discussed for a number of years in the board. At the time, as was alluded to in an earlier question which we were asked, there was a good deal of discussion about when we should make the follow-on investments. And the follow-on investments, which were always envisaged, fit very, very well now with the timing of the shutdown of the Canadian research reactor. The Canadian government has announced over the last 12 to 15 months on a number of occasions that in October 2016, their supply, which is currently 40% of the global supply of this critical isotope, will be terminating. So we have really designed, in consultation with government over a very significant period, our project to be able to enter the market ahead of that step change in the availability of the isotope.
We're a bit short of time. I'll try and keep the questions short.
Just say,
Yep.
quickly, the Cabinet made the decision on this investment based on a very strong business case, and it was supported by the central financial agencies on the basis that we think a very strong business case for the plant exists.
Was a cost-benefit analysis done?
The business case was independently reviewed by KPMG, and they did a top-down and a bottom-up review. They consulted international experts in the field, and the economics of this investment is absolutely sustainable in a fully market-oriented fashion.
But a formal cost-benefit analysis wasn't done?
Yeah, the cost-benefit analysis is but one element of that. Yeah.
Is the business plan and the peer review, are they both public documents?
Typically, one wouldn't provide such a detailed business plan as a public document because there are commercial implications, Senator.
What, so none of it can be put into the public domain?
No, I think that the high-level capacity of the plant is certainly something that we've been able to talk about.
Perhaps the best response to that, Senator, is we'll take that on notice and see what it's able to provide to the committee without that sort of commercial confidence.
Thanks.
Thanks, yeah.
Caveat.
I want to come to the KPMG assessment of the Arpanza report into the yttrium incident that effectively vindicates what one of your whistleblowers, Mr. Dave Reid, has been saying all along. So first, Mr. Patterson, are you aware of the KPMG report that I'm referring to?
Thank you, Senator. I am aware of the KPMG report that you're referring to.
Thanks. Has ANSTO reviewed that report and do you accept its findings?
Senator, ANSTO has received a redacted copy of that report. We have read that report. And our view is that according to the warranties and disclaimers that have been placed on record by KPMG, it says we have prepared this report for the benefit of Arpanza only. Whilst we have consented to the distribution of this report beyond Arpanza, it should not be regarded as suitable for use by any party other than Arpanza. If you are in possession of this report, and carries on. So it's clear that the report was intended for Arpanza, but in the spirit of advancing nuclear safety and attention to all aspects that we could continuously improve by achieving a deeper understanding of any events that have happened, we have read the report. We have decided on the basis of that statement by KPMG that there would be no benefit in pursuing any matters in relation to the report, but I think a careful reading of the report suggests that if there was any incident that morning, that it was of low radiological significance, and therefore we are confident that there's nothing...
Deliberately fabricated a false timeline, cover up
Excuse me, order.
Deliberately misled
Order.
the nuclear regulator.
Order.
Mr. Patterson, I'll tell you what my careful reading of that report indicates. My careful reading of that report, well, I take on board your caveat that the disclaimer does indeed identify Arpanza as the primary recipient of the report. I'm glad you've at least reviewed it. The KPMG report finds that ANSTO technical and supervisory staff and the executive management covered up the fact that 3 staff were contaminated by the beta emitter, yttrium, on the relevant day, that Mr. Reid witnessed an incident between 2 men at the contamination barrier of the day in question. He reported 1 man had yttrium contamination, which is a beta radiation emitter, all down his clothes and in his mouth, and that the other man, a supervisor, was trying to clean him up and telling him not to report the contamination. So has ANSTO made misleading statements about this incident, which I should also observe led to the suspension of the whistleblower in question?
Senator, you seem to have made a comment rather than a question, and I'm finding it difficult to deconvolute these series of statements that you've made.
My question then is whether or not ANSTO at any time has made misleading statements, either yourself or your staff, about this incident.
Senator, I don't believe that ANSTO has at any time made misleading statements in respect of the series of incidents that took place on that day in 2007. I don't believe that we have ever tried to suggest in any way that there were incidents on that day. They were submitted in our normal quarterly report. This particular investigation was for the purposes of Arpanza. I believe that the radiological significance of the purported event, if indeed it happened, was low. I think that this has been now investigated 11 times by different groups.
Are you still contesting that these events even occurred at all?
Senator,
if they occurred at all, was that your words?
Senator, we were not involved in this investigation in a way that would have allowed us to put all of the issues on the table. For example, you referred to executive management. No member of executive was interviewed by the person who conducted this investigation. So it just goes to show that this was a report that was indeed intended for Arpanza. It was not intended to make any findings in relation to ANSTO. I don't believe it has done.
It's your facility. It's your plant. It's an accident involving your staff at your facility that this report is about. I'm not sure quite why we're creating this distance. It was created for the regulator because they were extremely unhappy. I'll contest these contentions later on with ARPANSA, later on this morning, with ANSTO's response to these incidents, which did indeed occur. These are not alleged incidents. These are a matter of public record.
Senator, I believe that we have been very clear on this matter. If indeed this incident did take place,
So you contest the existence?
I contest whether there was an incident of this nature at the time that has been outlined in the report. And I have never had the opportunity to meet with the investigator or to engage, because I understood this to be an ARPANSA investigation of whether they had properly conducted themselves in analysing these events at the time. So we don't believe that any purpose would be served in terms of good use of public resources to continue this matter, because there is no radiological evidence, and people used to, as they do all the time now, wear film badges. People who were involved in this incident were subjected to whole body monitoring as a result of the reported incidents on the day. There's just no evidence in the broader evidential record, which was not considered by this investigator, to suggest that anybody was internally contaminated on that day. And I know that certain people have got different timelines with which they believe certain incidents happened. We just cannot find a record of that happening. At the time, the staff members who were involved did not all have the same sense and memory of what has happened. It's happened a long time ago. And in any event, we, at the time, with the other two incidents that took place on that day that we know actually happened because we've got reports about them, we've taken the necessary actions to introduce the type of controls that would be consistent with the controls that you'd introduce into any facility.
Thank you, Dr. Patterson. Time has now expired for this discussion. We'll take morning tea, and we will return to work at 11:25 a.m. 11:25. Committee stands adjourned.
Cover up safety incidents, and that guy got internal contamination, you tried to cover.